Welcome to the Mystical Truths Podcast. This is Rebecca, and I'm really glad you're here. Let's unlock your world. In this episode, I just want to focus on intuition for you, just for your personal guidance. If you'd like to expand on that later and talk about tuning in for other people, we certainly can do that. But in this recording, we'll just talk about intuition for you, for your daily life, for your benefit. We'll talk about what intuition is, how it works. I'll give you lots of tips to help develop your intuition and plenty of ways that you can get your intuitive juices flowing. My definition of intuition is your body's ability to receive impressions outside of your 5 basic senses and your ability to translate those impressions. So let's go over that again. Your body's ability, your body was designed to be able to receive waves of thought. That's what intuition is about. That's what we're actually tuning into. So the body was designed to be able to, like a radio, pick up the signal. But once the signal is picked up, you've got to do something with that. You have to be able to translate the waves of thought into something that you can understand. Intuition is also referred to as insight, inner voice awareness, instinct, being tuned into your inner self, your inner being. And I received the impression from Source specifically saying intuition is not something you do. It's something that you're aware of. And that's really important to understand, because when you try to be intuitive, it just doesn't work out. So it's not something that you do. It's something that you just allow, something that you're aware of. You allow yourself to be aware of what's already there. That if you're too focused on other things, the reality of your world, maybe your head's in a lot of different directions, you're just not picking it up. It's not that it's not there. So developing your intuition is about remembering, because you're born knowing how to do this. We're all intuitive. It's not a gift. Some people maybe are born with more ease about being intuitive, more naturally intuitive, just like some people are born with more ease about learning how to play instruments. Not that we can't all do it, but some people chose a heightened ability to serve them in this lifetime. But we're all intuitive, because intuition is instinct. This is very similar to what animals are doing. Animals have babies and know what to do with them. Animals know how to hunt for their food. Birds know when to fly south or north. It's not something that they're thinking about. It's just waves of thought that are there, and they're interpreting. They're following the direction. They're following the impulses. Humans being thinkers, logical thinkers, it's just easier for us to sort of get in the way of that. But we know when humans are living more in nature or just having an easier life experience, it's not uncommon for people to have instincts, to just have a sense about the weather changing or a sense of a storm coming or something like that. So it's there. And it isn't even something that you have to wait for. If you're asking a question to all of creation, the answer is already formed before you're actually letting the words out of your mouth, because your thought comes just a little bit before your words. So as the answers or the guidance, because, I should say here too that the other side, Source, doesn't tell us what to do. They don't tell us what not to do. They're just guiding. They're not saying this is definitely going to happen. That's definitely not going to happen. You're a creator thinking thoughts as you go along, and you can change it up anytime, all the time. So it's guidance about what would be best for you, what would be a good option. So as the waves of thought or the blocks of thought, the trail of thoughts are being offered to your energy, around your energy, of your energy, the translation is sort of a different type of translation. If you think of like a language translator, it's a word for word translation, but at the same time, it's not. And what I mean by that is if I am translating and somebody says, Casa de Pedro, I'm just going to say what I know that means. Peter's house. I'm not going to think Casa de Pedro means house of Peter, but we would say that as Peter's house. There's not that much thought process that is done there. So it's different that way in that when you're receiving from source, they're not offering you words in a source language. They're offering waves of thought. This is all about thought. They don't think in a particular language. They send the waves of thought. You translate them without realizing it. This isn't, again, it's not like I'm thinking house of Peter, so I should say Peter's house. You just sort of, a translator just finds the equivalent. Casa de Pedro, Peter's house. Just finds the equivalent. And that's what you do without thinking about it. When these waves of thought are coming, your body, in conjunction with your brain and other parts of your body, your soul, are forming those thoughts into something that you can understand. Just like when I received that intuition is not something you do, it's something that you're aware of. Those words were not being offered to me. The thought of those words, the thought of that understanding, I should say, was offered to me. My brain, my body, figured out the word equivalent. So how intuition works is that, but it's also important to understand how the body does receive. The body was designed to be able to help receive so that you can translate. There are 4 main areas of the body that help translate, and then there are 2 sort of extras. We call them clairs because clair means clear. And then the second word part of each word describes which center we're talking about. So you have an area of your body that is between your diaphragm, just under your lungs, and your navel. So between your belly button and the bottom of your lung area is your solar plexus. That is your clear sensing area. We call the translation there clairsentience or clairsentient event. So it's a clear sensing, a clear feeling. It's the emotional center. We feel information. So even though it's sort of happening there at that part of the body, you might not necessarily feel it there. Although if you go to the edge of a cliff and look over, you know that feeling that hits you in the pit of your stomach, which is really in the solar plexus, is that feeling sense that, oh, this is not a good time to be standing at the edge of the cliff looking over. Not a good time for me right now. And, we can even identify through the language, the words that we use, which of these centers we're stronger at, which are more likely our kind of go-to interpreters. If you're clairsentient, you're more likely to use words like feel. Like, well, I'm not really feeling that. Or, oh yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I get it. I feel you. So in your normal everyday conversation, if you use those feel words, you're probably more clairsentient. Okay, so that's clear sensing. You also have clear hearing. We call that clairaudience. And that happens on each side of the head, just above each ear. We know that the brain has a receiving center or centers in the temporal lobes, which are the nervous system's auditory area. So if this is something that, you're more likely to translate these waves of thought into something you're hearing, just like you hear a song playing in your head. You're probably someone who's more likely to use language like, oh yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Or, this doesn't sound right to me. Now, we all use all of these words. I'm just saying a few more often, if it's more typical for you. So we can receive and translate into sound, into words, into music. So far we can feel the information, we can hear. We also can translate into pictures or visuals. That would be clairvoyance, clear seeing. That happens right at the area of the forehead that people refer to as the third eye. There's not really a third eye there. But there is a small area of the brain called the pineal that we notice lights up and becomes more active when somebody's being clairvoyant or receiving clairvoyantly. And I should mention here too that your intuitive vision and your imagination use the same inner screen, sort of. So people will say, well, how do I know if that's my imagination or if that's a visual impression that I'm getting? What I say is the visual impression, like any other intuitive impression, just feels a little more sticky. It feels a little more real. There's just there's an element to it. And it always feels good, by the way. So it's good to actually practice your imagination. As you play with your imagination, you're helping your visual receiving center. And you do just sort of get to where you can tell the difference between what your imagination, in other words, your brain and you are cooking up, and what was just all of a sudden there as visual. If you're more clairvoyant, if that's a strong one for you, your language may be more seeing words, like, oh, I see what you mean. Or, that just doesn't look right to me. So we can feel, we can hear, we can see, and we also just have a clear knowing sometimes. That's claircognizance. That happens at the crown or the top of the head and is received at the corpus callosum, which is a nerve bundle that links the two brain hemispheres together. We know that gets active when somebody is receiving in a knowing sort of way. And sometimes you just know. You don't know how you know, but you just know something. And that's receiving an impression and interpreting it into a knowing. And sometimes it's a strong knowing. This one can be maybe one of the stickiest, so to speak. And if you're more claircognizant, you may use words like, oh, I know what you mean. Or I don't know about that. So again, we all use the hearing, feeling, seeing, knowing words. But which are you more apt to use more often? That just might give you a little hint of which are your stronger centers. And then we also sometimes just get a whiff of something literally, like we can smell. That's called clairalience. We can smell something that we can't identify presently or physically near us. Just get a scent of something. Sometimes we just get a clear tasting. And these may be memories. It may trigger. You're interpreting because of a triggered memory maybe. But we get a clear, like a taste. You taste something that you don't have anything in your mouth to match. That's clairambiance or clairgustance. So the body has these really cool receiving areas to help you then translate. So if you're just being chill and paying attention, you can get information. You can understand and be aware of information that you would not have been aware of otherwise. And that's why I say, it's always streaming. It's always there. It's always streaming. The guidance that you're wanting, the information that's useful to you is always streaming. It's just, are you translating or not? And it's easier to translate when you're just allowing, when you're not trying, when you're being easy about things, when your mind isn't scattered all over the place, or when you're not taking life seriously, when you're having your easier moments. that's when those inspirations come. That's when the information just ekes through the little crack of ease that you've allowed. And oftentimes people think this is their own idea that came to them all of a sudden, or their own little image they think they might have remembered about something. And that's okay. We can give ourselves the credit for it, but why? That doesn't help us understand that this is a co-creative thing that we're doing. We're living this life experience, but we're not doing it alone. And that's really nice to know. We have some sort of backup there. And paying attention to your intuition can really be handy, but you learn the difference between if you get a sense or an image or something that makes you feel like you're in danger, you have to know which influence you're under. Was I under the influence of my intuition, of my guidance? Or was I under the influence of my fear? And the difference there. One example might be if you're in a strange area and in your head you've been thinking thoughts that just aren't going to be that helpful. Like, there's danger in this area, or this is new to me. I don't know where I'm going. What if I get lost? It's getting dark. What if somebody jumps out in front of my car? Or what if I'm at a stop sign or a red light and somebody comes up and tries to carjack me? And you just think thoughts like that. Now, your sense of I'm in danger is coming from that. But if you're going along expecting, you may very well be aware that you're in an area that you're unfamiliar and there may be some things, because things can be anywhere really, but you're not thinking about the dangers. You're just having your moment and you're going about your business, and you just get a sense that you need to go somewhere else, or that you need to not be there anymore. You also get an impulse about where to go then. Right? If you really feel a strong urge to turn around, then turn around. If you just get that sense like, I was feeling okay, but now I just really feel like I'm not afraid, but I just have this sense of urgency to get out. Well, then get out. And remind yourself then that was an intuitive impression. That was an impulse that you had to switch gears, to change, to go to a better place, because everything is always working out for you and you know that. So even if you are going somewhere and which way should I go? Just allow yourself to follow that. What comes to me now? Which way do I feel like going now? Maybe you have a question of which candidate should I hire? I always suggest that you put the candidates or the options energetically sort of out there in front of you, and then focus on just one very lightly and just be aware of what you sense. Do that for each one. And then decide which one just felt the best. It's that simple. You don't even have to tune into the precise details of it, really. Because at that point, you could be overcomplicating. Just that one felt the best to me. So that's where I'm moving forward to. That's how you allow things to just keep working out for you without getting too overly involved in it. The details that are useful to you will come if you want them. Okay, so how do you be intuitive? How do you get yourself to a better place with your intuition? One of the most important things is to relax. 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 I'm not saying go sit in a chair and close your eyes, and you could do that, but I mean like in your mind, in your body's energy, relax yourself. You've got to become a better vibrational match, or you've got to get a little closer to that higher vibration that all of this guidance flows in. If you're in frustration, you're not going to get much. You're just vibrationally too far away. So you can talk yourself into a better space, right? Move your body around a little bit. Take a couple deep breaths and say to yourself, yeah, I'm just gonna relax right now. I'm just gonna relax. Before you leave to go somewhere, if you want to bring your intuition with you, so to speak, relax a little bit. Envision a nice outing. Remind yourself that you're going to be aware of any impressions that you receive and interpret, and then go about it. So when you relax, you also want to bring your attention to the space that you're in, the place where you're at. Bring your focus to you, not to all of that stuff that's happening out there. We're not reaching out for this information. We're paying attention to the space we're in and then being aware that the information is right there. That's an important thing to remember. You're not grasping out there. You're not scanning the ethers for this information. You're just allowing yourself to be aware that it's right here where you're at. So, like I said, relax, which also means bring your vibration up. And then bring your attention into the space that you're at. That's the biggest help right there. You also want to have an intention to receive guidance. You can use words like guide me, show me, teach me, because they help with your intention to receive. It's also helpful to remember that your brain is not the source of the information. Your brain may be helping in the process, but it's not the source of the information. You don't know, right? If you're tuning into where your lost keys are, you have to be honest with yourself. You don't know. But all of creation knows where the keys are and how to get you to the keys. So now you're just paying attention. You're being aware, right? I don't know right now, but I know the information is available and I want my keys, so I'll pay attention. And the impression you get may have nothing to do with your keys as far as you know. But if you follow what feels good, you follow those impulses, you'll get to your keys. The more you relax about it, the sooner you'll get to your keys. I'll give you an example there. A good while back, I have a ring that I really like a lot, and I couldn't find it. I had no idea where it could have gone, although I was pretty sure that it had to be in my house somewhere. It does have a tendency when my hands are cold to slide on my finger, so it could have slipped off. But I was really feeling like it was somewhere in the house, and I was thinking, where could it be? I'm tracing my steps. I'm like, I got nothing. I looked around my bedroom a little bit, and I thought, okay, stop looking. The intention is already there to find the ring. All of creation knows you want to find it. You'll find it when you can relax enough to let it happen. So at some point, I had an idea to go up to the attic for something, and it was cold. It was in my bare feet, and I'm up in the attic going through some boxes or whatever I was doing. I don't remember even what I went up there for. And I decided to sort some of my grandson's clothes that were up there. And I even had the thought, like, why am I doing this right now? It's cold and I'm in my bare feet. But I'm still standing there sorting the boxes, and in one of the boxes, right on top, was my ring. And I thought, oh, no wonder I kept getting this urge to keep going and to even do this in the first place. So the idea to go to the attic for something was more about me finding the ring than whatever I went up there for in the first place. And it certainly wasn't about sorting clothes, but sorting clothes was necessary to get me to the ring. So that's what I mean by just everything's working out for you. Just keep following your impulses. You'll get to what you want. So you want to become aware of what's here now that wasn't here before. Sniff around your awareness with your curiosity. What can I see that my eyes aren't seeing? What can I know that I didn't know until I asked myself that question? What can I hear or what can I feel about this that's there for me to hear or feel that I don't need my sense of touch for or my ears? What's there that I can sense? So just be lightly, playfully curious and get aware. Pay attention. And you're not thinking. You're not guessing. And that may be a knee-jerk reaction when you start to practice your intuition, is to figure it out or to guess or to connect the dots before they're really ready to be connected. And we'll talk about that. So you're not thinking, you're not guessing, you're just paying attention. An example would be, so as I was putting my thoughts together for this, I thought, well, let me come up with a good example for that. So I got a deck of cards out. They're Osho cards, and they were upside down. And I reached in and I pulled one out, and I didn't look at it, of course, put it between my hands, and I just became the card. And that's an important tip right there. Become the thing or the person or the event that you want to tune into. Be that thing. If you're that thing, you know some stuff. Or you can be aware of some things. So I put that card between my hands just to make sure I couldn't see it, and because that's my way to feel. And I just paid attention. And I felt this scratching, like scratching. And I thought, okay, that's good enough. So I turned the card over, and it's the card of guilt. And it's an image of this woman who is scratching her head, and then there are these other sort of almost invisible hands that are scratching too. I thought, okay. So it's not about getting the word guilt. It's not about knowing exactly what the picture was. Just get the impression and then go from there. And we'll talk about how to expand on that. So I pulled up a second card, put it between my hands, and just paid attention. And I was just going for one impression on each of these, just one little thing. And with this one, I just felt the flowing, almost like a rippling flowing. And I thought, oh, awesome. So I turned the card over, and it's the card of abundance, which would be a steady flow. And there are even some parts of the image where there's material that's like flowing. So you get it, right? You just want to allow yourself to be aware and take that, trust that. Don't try to put a label on it. Don't try to figure it out. That's not going to help you. Keep it like it is. Don't change it. When I got that sense of scratching, I didn't decide anything about it. I didn't decide if it was somebody scratching or if it was an animal or somebody was being scratched. None of that stuff. It was just a sense of scratching. When I got the flow and the continuous flow, I didn't decide anything about it. That's not our job. That's not what you want. It's not going to help you connect the dots, because especially in the beginning, because your brain will go to something that's probably off. Right? You'll go to a creek. Oh, it's a creek of water. Well, no, it's not. It's just a flow, a continuous flow that once you then look at the card, you'll be able to connect the dots. So here are some more tips. For me, when I bring my attention to the place where I'm at, to me, I focus up. It's maybe a vibrational thing. Maybe it's just an individual thing for me, but I just focus up because that makes me feel higher in vibration. I tend to focus off to the right a little bit. That could just be me. And you'll find as you play with this more and more, you discover your uniqueness about it, because this really is different for everybody. Nobody receives the same. Even if you take 100 people that are primarily clairvoyant and ask them to tune into the same thing, they're all going to come up with it from a different angle or from maybe different symbols. They'll all make sense, but they may not be the same. Be curious, be light, be playful, be easy. That awareness is sort of that curiosity of what's sort of there. And then stop talking. Stop thinking if you can, and just pay attention. And you do have to begin at some point to just trust what you're getting. Not to the point where you're really stretching to connect the dots. But if you don't trust what you're getting, it's hard to go beyond that. You'll just talk yourself out of it and give up, most likely. Hopefully you won't. And what I mean by sniff around it is there's always more than that first little impression that you get. If I said to you all right now, tune into what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it, giving my attention to it. Bring yourself energetically to it, to the space that I'm in. Be it. And let me know what your impressions are. At first, it can be a tricky thing because your brain is going to jump in and assume some things. It's going to assume that I'm inside, that I'm probably in an office or some type of environment like that, since I'm recording. But I could be staring right out a window, looking outside. I could be recording this in a bedroom. There are so many possibilities. Even if I'm inside and in my office, which I am, there are still so many possibilities to what I could be looking at in this room and focusing on. So when you connect a couple dots, give yourself credit for that. So let's say, for example, you say to me, okay, I'm tuning in and I'm just sensing a bunch of people. There's something about a bunch of people. Now, the brain may jump in here and say, well, she's probably not with a bunch of people. She's recording an episode right now. So you're wrong. But just let that go. Let that go. What did you get? You sensed a bunch of people. And then you said to me, but that's all I'm getting. But if I ask you, well, are they physically here with me in this space? I don't know. It didn't feel like that. It didn't seem like that. Are they talking, jumping around, anything like that? No talking. I don't feel any physical activity. Are they kids, adults? Well, they looked like adults to me, like female adults. What kind of clothing did they have? Did you get any sense of anything like that? If they were standing, sitting. They were like covered in white, you say. I don't know if they were sitting or standing or anything. They were just like, there was a lot of white. You can even ask yourself, when I was looking at these people, was I looking up, down, to the left, to the right? So this is what I mean by sniff around. What else was really there? What else do you know or sense about that bunch of people that you just weren't giving yourself credit for or allowing yourself to really know that you knew? Because at this point, we don't just have, a bunch of people. We have a group of adult females that aren't physically in the space that I'm in. They're not talking. There's white around them or white all over somewhere, which doesn't sound like anything. Until I tell you that I'm looking at and focusing on a plaque with a picture on it of me and a group of graduating students that they gave me years ago. And the picture was, or is, of us in the lab, and they all had their white lab coats on. There's all your white. There are the adult females. There's the bunch or the group of women. So the dots will connect if you don't try to connect them too early. Just be honest with yourself. What are you getting? And don't change how you're getting it. Just say it exactly the way you're receiving it. If you're sensing laughter, but it doesn't feel good, that's the way you want to say it. I'm sensing laughter, but it's not like a feel-good laughter. Now you might want to say, okay, well, it's somebody making fun of somebody else. Well, don't go there. Just what are you getting? Let the dots connect themselves. So you want to practice throughout your day so that it becomes more natural, more common, more full of ease, which then does become easier. And like I said, this is not stuff that you're trying to figure out. Meditation and appreciation help your intuition a lot because they raise your vibration and they help you center yourself. They help you tune in. And if you're looking to tune in to something that requires action, which store should I go to, right? Get the inspiration and then take the action. So you do want to receive and then act on what you're receiving instead of just acting. Because people say, well, I have to go to the store. So I got to figure out what store to go to. I can't just sit here and tune into the store. Well, no, but you can tune into the store that would be most beneficial for you right now and then go to that store. Also, if you're getting a blank, you're getting a blank. And that's okay. Because if you don't allow that, if you don't recognize that, then you may, maybe unintentionally even, make up some things to fill in that void that you're getting, that blank. Just you're getting a blank. Revisit it later. Go be playful for a while and then come back at it. And definitely stay true to what you're getting. If you add to or guess or, like I said, connect those dots before they're ready to be connected, you really pollute what's there. You change what's there. And then it doesn't make the sense it could have made if you would have just let it be the way it was. If you find yourself looking to impress other people with your intuition or to prove that you're intuitive, you might want to rethink that because that's not helpful to intuition, to put that pressure on yourself or to use it to impress other people just usually doesn't work out. That's not where the intention of intuition is really born from. And know that oftentimes your misses are more likely just your misinterpretation. So if you're tuning into what I'm holding in my hands right now, and I'm telling you it's an item, and you just get the number 6, and you think, well, she's probably not holding a number 6. Well, you're being too literal, but I am holding my cell phone in my hand, which is showing me a 6 in the time on the screen of the phone. And so remember that, that guidance is always flowing. It's immediate or it's in best timing. So if not now, you'll know when you know. You'll receive when you receive. It'll work out when it works out. That inspiration will come when it comes so that you remain easy about it and can receive and translate it when it comes. So it sort of boils down to you have a desire or you ask a question. You be aware, pay attention, you trust, and you interpret. And if there's action involved from that, then you go do that. So some ways to help you practice developing your intuition. One of the most basic that I like to use when I teach intuition development classes is just little white sheets of paper with colored pencil or colored crayon or whatever, one color to a sheet, fold them in half, put them in a stack. I have a set I've used for years, mix them up, and I hand each person a piece of the paper with a color on it. Now, it's a funny thing because at first, because you know it's a color on a piece of white paper, you may, and people often do, have the tendency to figure out what the color is. So I always say, tune into the color, be that color, but don't tell me what the color is. The reason for that is because if you go for the color, you're more likely to guess or to try to figure it out. Just tell me, or if you're practicing at home, tell yourself What am I aware of? What impression is, what's in the air around my thinking process right now? And whatever it is, say it, and then take a look at your paper. If you can connect the dots, beautiful. If you can't, like I said, it could just be a misinterpretation. The dots may be connectable, but you may not yet be familiar enough with your own intuition to actually connect those two dots. An example there might be if you're tuning in and you hear music, like you just feel like a musician, and you think, I don't know what color that would be. Well, good, because like I said, you don't want to figure out the color. If you get the color, fine, but I wouldn't go for the color. Go for the impression. So you feel a musician, and you're not really, I just feel like music or musician. I don't know what color that would be. And you open the paper and it's purple. Now, to me, that makes perfect sense, because a musician, music, purple, that just takes me right to Prince. So for me, that would be an impression that would work for me. Now, you might get a different impression, and that's just an example. But that's a fun one to do. And there's not a lot happening on that paper. So it's a sort of a simple one to start with. You can even take colored pencils and mix them up, close your eyes, and just grab one and hold on to it. Or crayons or something like that, and just sense something. Don't sense what color it is, but be aware of the impressions that you're getting. The symbols or the things that will lead you to, oh, orange, of course, right? If you get mail, when you get mail, if you have an envelope that you really can't tell what's in it, tune in. Take that envelope, be whatever is inside that envelope, and be aware of the impressions that come around you. You can write different names of people that you know on pieces of paper and tune into those. You can write down various health conditions and tune into the sense of a health condition. So you can see it's kind of unlimited. You could, if you're into cars, you could write names of different vehicles on paper, fold them up, pick one out of the pile, and just be that piece of paper and allow yourself to become aware of what all of creation knows about what is on that particular piece of paper. You can ask Source, all of creation, a question, and then get yourself into that comfortable, toony-inny kind of place and start writing. Just start writing, and write without thinking, really. Just start writing and see how that works out for you. And I think it's best in the beginning, especially if you don't direct that question to someone who has passed that you knew here. The reason being, because you knew that soul as a person here, you may, without realizing it, start to formulate the response how you think they would have responded, or how you were used to them responding. So it's better if you just put it out there to all of creation and not put that specific personality on it. You can even tailor your practice to particular receiving centers, like for your sense of feeling. You can have a partner project a feeling or emotion to you. Have somebody that you feel comfortable with just sit and think of an emotion that they feel. Could be positive or negative. It doesn't really matter. Positive would be better for them, for their energy, but have them think of an event that held a lot of emotion for them. And then just tune in, let them know what you got, and see how you can connect the dots. Writing the health conditions on paper, or even causes of death, a cause of death on each one, that can be a feeling exercise where you feel that scenario. You can get a maze, like a maze on a piece of paper. Close your eyes and just feel, put a pen or a crayon or whatever, pencil in your hand, put it at the starting spot, and then just feel, which way do I want to go? Do I want to go up, down, left, right? Don't decide it. Just feel where you want to go. To practice your seeing center, you can just gaze at a plant. Find a nice little plant and just gaze at it and sort of through it so that you relax your vision and see the energy of the plant, the aura or the energy of the plant. Now you're doing this with your physical eyes, but you're also relaxing your eyes and allowing yourself to see beyond what your eyes see. Well, what your eyes typically see. You can remote view, have a friend go into a particular room in their house or go to a place that you're not familiar with and tune into them visually. What do you, in your mind's eye, what do you see? What does it look like? And then describe that to them and connect the dots. You can ask someone to hold an image in their mind's eye, just really visualize the image of maybe an animal or whatever, and see what you get. For hearing, you can ask someone to, and this can be done remotely. It doesn't have to be done with them in the same room with you. You can do it by phone, or you can just say at 4:00, sit down and do this. Have them send 3 words or maybe a sentence your way. Just have them think of you and vibrationally, just like they're sending a wave of thought, because they are, send a string of words and just tune in and see what you hear. They can even hum a song that has a nice vibration to it, especially if it's a fun song. And they're singing this fun song in their mind. And you tune in. Is it an upbeat song? Is it a... And again, you're not going to ask yourself those questions. You're just going to get the impressions. And then connect the dots to, was it an upbeat song? Was it this kind of song? What did I get that made sense for something about that song? For your knowing center, the cards, like I said, you can get even a deck of cards, playing cards, affirmation cards, Pokemon cards. It really doesn't matter. Just cards with different images, and pull one out and be that card. If you're that card, what's there? What do you know about what's there? Have someone ask you a question like, what was the first thing I did at work today? Or what did I have for lunch today? And remember, no pressure, but be their lunch or be that first thing they did at work today. You can even take a quiz that you don't know the answers to, or have somebody write a quiz for you that you don't know the answers to. Right? If you don't know much about sports, tell them to write some questions about sports, or find some questions online and write them down, or just plain tune into them and take one at a time. Read the question, become the answer, and pay attention to what your impressions are. It's pretty cool, and there are just so many ways to play with intuition. So many, you can think up your own exercises even. You can identify the color of clothing by feel. Close your eyes. Have somebody hand you an item of clothing. And you may even want to play around with it, like, does your accuracy improve if you hold the item near your solar plexus or near your third eye or your ears, the top of your head? I mean, it's not something that you'll continue to do, but you can do it at first just to get yourself more comfortable with your feeling center, your knowing center, and so on. The next time you are going to take a trip to the store or to work or something like that, intuit your way there. There are probably 20 or 30 ways you can get there, or routes you can take to get there. Follow the one that just now today feels good to you. You can have someone put an item in a bag or a box and get your impressions about that. When your phone rings, before you look at it, just be aware of who who it is. You can even be curious about things like, when I get to work today, who will be the first person I see? You can have someone sit on the other side of maybe your open laptop screen or in another room and have them arrange sticks or toothpicks into a pattern. And without you being able to see them, just draw what you're getting. So just to recap, intuition is not something you do. It's something that you're aware of. And it is a personal thing. It's happening in your personal space. You are naturally intuitive. You're just remembering that. You're reminding yourself. You're becoming aware of how it works for you now. And now that you know how it works and how to practice being aware, it's just about tuning consistently and trusting. Right? You have the information now. This isn't anything that's complicated because this is your nature. So it's quieting your mind and just tuning, which means be aware. Be mindful of what's in this energy space that you're in. And as you practice and even think up your own intuitive exercises, you get to know more and more of how it works for you specifically. And it just becomes more normal for you. And there will be times where you're further away from your intuitive translating skills, and there will be many times where you're closer. But the more you play with this, the more you want to find ease in this, the more often you'll find yourself saying, that's funny. I had that thought and then that worked out. Or I was just thinking, like, Sarah just popped into my mind and I got a phone call from her. So they're not coincidences. This is just intuition. So as you play with your intuition and find the ease, if you'd like to learn about tuning in for other people, let me know. We can address that. It is a little different, and there is a responsibility that comes with that. And remember, it is guidance. But for now, it's just being playful about it and tuning in for your own wonderful, loving, accurate, positive guidance. So until next time, be light, be playful about it. You are intuitive. It is your nature. You can find me at mysticaltruths.com.